Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by PILMA. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hi, this is Gracie Howes with PILMA. Let's hit pause for just a second on this episode because I have to tell you about this event that every forward-thinking PI firm should have on their calendar this January. It's the AI for PI Expo in Orlando, Florida, January 15th through 17th. This is the very first conference of its kind dedicated entirely to showing personal injury firms how to harness AI to save time, cut costs, and grow faster. You'll get hands-on demos, practical training, and access to the best AI solutions built for law firms. Reserve your spot now at pilma.org/AI for PI Expo via the link in the show notes.
Hey, it's Jenna, Membership Growth Advisor with PILMA. If you're serious about growing your law firm this year, don't miss your chance to book a free law firm growth strategy session with me. We'll break down what's holding you back, identify the biggest opportunities in your firm, and map out the next steps to accelerate your growth. No pressure, just real strategy and direction tailored to you. Click the link in the show notes to schedule your free session.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today I'm pleased and happy to announce that we have two brothers here, the Haskins brothers, Hayden and David, with SPEED.AI. So welcome to the show, guys, and I'm looking forward to this because I was telling David before you got on, hey, I have heard nothing but great things about this SPEED.AI. Usually, no matter what somebody comes out with, somebody's going to complain about it. I have not heard one complaint since y'all launched it at our PILMA Summit. I don't know if you launched it then, but that was when everybody found out about it.
Yeah, that's when we launched it.
That was back in May, and I know you were signing up people left and right, and I'm sure they're still with you. So tell a little bit about yourself, each one, and then let's get right into what SPEED.AI is and how it helps and what it's about, the benefits and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Let's just get into it.
Yeah, so I'm David Haskins. I'm one of the co-founders, and I got my start inside of a law firm. My best friend, David Ayler, started his practice in 2009, focused heavily on the marketing, then started an agency from there called Drive Law Firm Marketing. Been doing digital marketing, SEO, paid for law firms since 2013. And in about 2020, we had been doing call tracking, recording, call reel, those sort of things. In 2020, we sort of formalized some intake best practices and turned it into a hands-on coaching program we call the Intake Accelerator, where we would come into a firm, evaluate their bandwidth, build out their processes, their operations manuals, train their team, and then build out their tech stack, their KPIs, and do ongoing call audits and training, continual training to those teams. Sort of like you'd probably think of it as a fractional intake manager. And about 2 years ago, Hayden is deeply involved in all the tech and processes in that program. And like 2 years ago, Hayden, we're talking about inefficiencies and such, and Hayden goes, "I bet we could train the AI to do these call audits and to figure this stuff out." And yada.
So a little bit about my background. Much like how David was employee number one at the law firm that he was internal at, I was employee number one at Drive, which was Haskins' company then, turned into Drive a few years back. Was heavily involved in the Intake Accelerator program. I've integrated most lead management and case management systems together, as well as, built some lead management systems myself, just kind of, hacked them together. Like David was saying, a couple of years ago, I was building my own case management system to manage my own pro se TCPA claims. I was doing dozens of those a year on my own behalf and needed a way to manage them. And through that, started experimenting with AI in terms of how to just make my own claims more efficient, and noticed, because my office was right outside of the office that all the intake coaches that were analyzing those calls manually, my office was right outside of their office. And I noticed that for pretty much half the day, they'd be sitting there listening to phone calls, and then they'd be typing up analyses of them. And, through that program, one of the big benefits was, individual agents at law firms getting that feedback on how they did on calls and how to improve was one of the big things that made a difference in those intake departments and really increased conversion. And at that time, I was just doing a lot of experimenting with AI. To be honest, I was a bit bearish on AI at the time, but I'm sure you remember, Ken, we were at that first AI workshop you did. And that's kind of where we started kind of experimenting with this idea of what if AI was just listening to the call? And, we over the years have honed a quantitative way to analyze intake calls in a law firm. And, like you said earlier, we launched this year, May 1st, and, we're in almost 100 law firms. And, as of, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of last week, we've analyzed over 2 million calls for law firms all over the country.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Why would a lawyer want this?
So we see this, and David sees this all day at, in the marketing side of things. And we've seen it for years, right? Attorneys spend tons and tons and tons of money to make the phone ring. Then the phone rings and something happens. And then on the other side of that equation, some cases get signed. There's never really been good visibility into what happens on the phone. And as firms are finding out in the last couple of years, you can optimize for good leads. You can optimize for handling the case well. There's not really a good way to optimize for what happens on the phone, at least at scale. There's not. The best advice folks have is just go listen to a few calls every month. So this is a way that you can have.
Yeah, which nobody else do it for the first 2 months and then they quit doing it.
Yeah.
You get busy. Yeah, I know.
AI is always working. It doesn't take a vacation, doesn't command a large salary, doesn't need benefits. And, we're not here to replace any intake agents. We just want to help your firm run better.
So, but how does it work? I mean, it listens to the call. Does it tell the agent to do stuff? Does it talk in its ear, or does it go back and look and listen and say, hey, listen, you turned down a case that you should have kept? I mean, tell me what it really does.
So that's probably the biggest feature that people are seeing value from is exactly what you said. Hey, you turned down a case that you should have kept, or you misunderstood the facts of a case and you quoted the statute wrong, or you misunderstood the facts and you thought that it was a different practice area. You thought it was an employment case when it was actually a workers' comp case. Or, hey, you didn't properly vet the facts fully and you overlooked things like, if somebody was a passenger, or, my favorite, lead rescue. That feature is called lead rescue. And my favorite one was a guy who called in. He was calling about an accident that his employees were in. And the agent didn't catch that at the beginning. The call was only like 2.5 minutes long. And by the time the agent asked name, email, phone, date of incident, were you injured? He says no. The agent goes, okay, we'll pass this information along. And they sort of pocket rejected it. The AI saw that he was calling about an accident that he was not in himself. So of course he wasn't injured, and flagged it for immediate review. It popped up in the lead rescue dashboard. And that firm was able to rescue that case. They were able to assign the driver and the passenger. So they got 2 claims out of it. And the at-fault driver was a 18-wheeler. And that firm does 250 to 300 leads a month. And they said it was the biggest case that they signed that month. The crazy thing about it is, like Hayden was talking about, not having that full visibility, is that the tools people are using today, CRMs and lead management tools, if you went into the record for that intake, you would look and you would see John Smith, phone, email, date of incident, no injuries, rejected. And you would, even if you were auditing the quality, you would go, yeah, we did what we were supposed to do. We rejected a case where there was no injuries. So really what we're seeing is that these slight missteps, we call them lead leaks. Anything that could happen on a call that causes a firm to miss out on signing a case. It could be little miscommunication, misunderstanding, or not properly exploring the facts. The call cutting off early due to technical difficulties without getting full contact information, all sorts of things. They are populating the lead rescue and allowing firms to grab these cases. And the surprising thing is it's not just like your standard average run-of-the-mill cases. We've seen firms improperly reject like high 6-figure and 7-figure cases that the lead rescue is able to pop back in and save. And you get that notification just within a few seconds of the call being over.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, but worst mistake I ever heard was when somebody turned down a MISO case because they thought it was, this guy, well, he's got lung cancer, he's got this, he worked with asbestos, they thought it was a workers' comp claim and they didn't do workers' comp.
Oh
So
gosh.
they just turned it down, right? So,
Yeah.
and by the time the partner found out about it, they'd already hired somebody else.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's $1 million fee. I mean, I can just
Yeah.
tell, I've never seen a MISO case that didn't have at least $1 million fee in it.
Yeah. That's something we see. Like, even if you are auditing at the end of the week or the end of the month, like you catch something, all you can do is just maybe try better the next time. You can't actually go back and call that person from 21 days ago and see if they haven't signed up with an attorney already. They probably have if they have a good case. So
Yeah.
like, one of those instances was a guy who called in and the agent didn't really understand the severity of his injuries. And he mentioned on the call that he had a pain stimulator. And if you don't work, spinal cases, you don't know that a pain stimulator is a spinal stimulator. It's a spinal surgery that's $200,000 to $250,000 for the surgery itself, plus all the resulting care. One of our customers brought that one to our attention, and that the AI picked it up, realized that it was a catastrophic case, even though the agent had rejected it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ken, one of the people, and David and I both just think the world of Gary Falkowitz. He's got a quote. He says, "You only get one bite at the apple," and I think firms using SPEED.AI for the first time ever have a second bite at the apple with lead rescue. Right? You get a second chance at any lead that potentially might go hire somebody before they have a chance to do that. Right? And you can kind of set things right and say, hey, we made a mistake. We actually can help you out here.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing firms get great results with that.
So you just set it up on a phone system where it listens to all your intake people, basically, right? What phone systems does it work on? All phone systems or different ones?
So it can work with pretty much any phone system out there. So obviously, call reel, call tracking metrics, what converts. Those are the phone tracking. We've got Vonage Business Center, Zoom Contact Center, Ring Central, Dialpad, Nice, CX1, Nexa, Jabber, and then we've got our own API. So there's just a lot.
8x8.
One of the things, 8x8. There's one of the things we've been noticing about this market is that law firms have a wide gamut of solutions that they're using to run their phone systems. Right? You've got folks that are adopting like voice over IP. And then you've got some people who, even large firms, that they've just been working with a guy down the street who's like got a server in his closet. Internally, we refer to that as Bubba Phone. So we'll be like, oh, does this person have 8x8? Do they have Vonage? No, they've got Bubba Phone. Well, we can even integrate with Bubba Phone, right? So we've got our own API. We can kind of get them set up. And setup with us usually takes less than 10 minutes. We set up one of the largest firms in the country yesterday, and the setup took 10 minutes.
Wow. That's wild. So I know anything that it does that we hadn't talked about, but I think the big deal is the speed rescue.
Yeah.
I mean, the rescue of the cases. But what else, if it doesn't just rescue cases, what does it do? Just kind of tell you if the person's doing a good job or not doing a good job, or the ones you should listen to or whatever.
So it can do a lot of things, right? So with our custom filtering, you can surface calls that need attention that fit whatever you're trying to track at the time. So you could say, I want to see all car accident cases with a case quality grade of A or B, where the agent got less than a 40. You can flag those immediately. You can be notified when those happen. You can be notified when A grade truck wreck comes in that is not signed. I have an attorney that wanted us to just set up that one filter for just him. And then this Friday, actually, we're rolling out a big update. I don't know when this will air, if it'll be already out, but we are rolling out what we were calling agent scorecards and leaderboards. So what that'll do is plot out all of the agents that are working in your firm, and it'll give you high-level metrics on how they're each doing, and it'll show them in the leaderboard. So you can see who your top performers are, who needs work. And then when you can click into any of those individual agents, you'll be able to see what their most common issues are, how their conversion rate tracks over time, how their agent scores are tracking over time, and really see if you have someone that needs work, you could see what to do, what to train them on. And then you can watch over time as their scores improve. And if they don't improve, you might need to, kind of revisit training. Or if they do improve, then good. Now you can move to the next lowest performer and kind of provide them the same training. Yeah.
For 15 years, I've been preaching about intake. I mean, I was never worried when somebody would hire me to do consulting work, which I don't do now. But when I used to do consulting work, I knew I could pay for myself 10 times because everybody's sucked at intake. There's just so much money that was wasted. I think more and more the last, I say 3 to 4 years, 5 years, you're seeing firms realize that it's so competitive now, you cannot waste money like you used to. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, you could put up a bad ad and do okay. I mean, there was just so many things that was just easy 15, 20 years ago. But now the market, with all this institutional money and the lead companies and the big firms like Morgan and just more regional firms that are going, and just more lawyers getting into it, it's just got a lot tougher. You've got to watch you cannot miss out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to be efficient.
Right.
This makes it efficient, sounds like to me.
Yeah. Frankly, one thing I've noticed is the industry or the profession, especially contingency work, PI, it can be so lucrative that it sort of washes over a lot of operational and efficiency sins, if you will. You can make a great living, have a successful business, and be 30% deficient in your operations and not even really notice it. And now you are starting to see that more, where every dollar spent is important. Every lead needs to be handled, to the utmost level. And, really with the economics, average case could be $8,000 to $15,000 a case in fees, and the cost per case going up, like you said, with lead gen and some of the national referral firms and MSOs and all this going in the space. It is sort of a crunch time as the industry sort of matured pretty quickly in the last 5 to 10 years.
So I know these smaller law firms are thinking, is this out of my reach? Can I afford this? I mean, so how do you charge? Do you charge number of calls, by the minutes, by the law firms, what?
Yeah, so it's based on a kind of per minute model, but we bucket you, right? And we're not going to surprise you with a bill. You're going to know what you're going to pay every month, right? The real question for a lot of the smaller firms, especially at a smaller size, is can you afford to not have this? Because the smaller you are, the more every lead counts, right? We've seen firms that are very large that are like, hey, we've been waiting for this. We've been trying to build this internally, and they instantly adopt it. And we've seen smaller firms that are like, hey, every lead counts just, that much more because our margins are so thin because we're trying to grow. So our pricing's on our website, but, we bucket folks, up to 1,000 minutes, you got a price. Up to 5,000 minutes, you got a price. Anything over that, we consider enterprise, and, it'd be kind of custom quoted, but you'd essentially get a bulk discount on it.
Yeah.
And software is really, I was going to say, it's really versatile because we built the best practices and training around some smaller to mid-sized firms that we were working with in the marketing. So we sort of trained the model and built the best practices around compensating for some very unstructured intake setups at some of our smaller firms. Then on the larger firm side, they're using it for workforce management, for tracking agents, metrics, tracking specific performance KPIs like time to answer and hold times. On a smaller firm and solo level, I mean, we have firms where the lawyer is using it just themselves, just to monitor their one receptionist and one intake person, or their part-time intake person.
One thing we haven't touched on yet that David just kind of alluded to is the smaller firms or the solo practitioners who maybe have an overflow or after hours call center and one internal person. Someone's got to be answering the phone at midnight. And in the past, I mean, we've found, even just through manual audits, hey, where's this lead that came in last night that didn't close? And it's nowhere in the CRM. They didn't even get an email about it. And Ken, I'm sure you've seen in the industry how a call center service will pop up or an after hour service will pop up. They'll do really good work for about 6 months, and then all of a sudden quality starts going down now that they've got some clients. So we've got a feature in there where you could just set your business hours and it'll automatically track your after hours metrics separate from your internal staff metrics. So we've seen folks change their after hours service once they kind of got into speed for about a month and saw, okay, my internal staff is treating folks this way, and the after hours is kind of like a deprecated experience, if you'll let me say that. And we found horror stories, but we've also found that firms are using it to discovering that they had A players operating within intake that kind of just flew under the radar because they were doing exactly what the firm wanted them to do, but intake kind of only gets attention when it's bad. Yeah. So, some firms have been able to kind of put the carrot before the stick and kind of reward those A players proactively rather than only punishing for when something goes wrong.
So that's great. So it'll do other people, not just your staff, but other people. Mm-hmm. So there's some stuff out there now that are, what do you call them? AI agents that are doing intake. Mm-hmm. Can you monitor those too?
You can.
Yeah.
I see some smiling.
Yeah. I like the voice solution as an overflow and after hours, solution. I think that's a great, like Gary Falkowitz's program. It's where it's specifically used for after hours, nights and weekends and overflow. At those times, people aren't expecting that there's a law firm open and operating at 9:30 at night or 11 o'clock at night or 1 a.m. when your kid gets a DUI and calls you from jail. So it's the consumer expectation is there. I think especially on the PI side during the day, if somebody's contacting you off of an ad, especially if you paid for that call, we still fully believe in the human experience. And we're seeing that especially market leaders with a lot on the line, in marketing and frankly in staffing, they're still fully on board in the human experience. I think it's just too critical a moment in people's lives to hand off, at least just yet.
Good deal. So the website is SPEED.AI.
Mm-hmm.
.ai. It should be very easy to remember.
And I know. And I guess they can go there, and if they want, do y'all do demos or anything like that, or we'll
let you use it for 14 days 100% free. There's no integration charge, there's no per seat charge. We'll let you try
credit card needed.
We'll let you try it completely, no strings attached for 14 days. We're just that confident that you'll be able to find some issues in your intake, and hopefully you save a case or two in that period and just see how valuable it is to have a second pair of eyes on every intake.
Well, I like that, man. That's the Pilma way,
Yeah.
Let them try it out. If they don't like it, then they don't pay it. I like that. You're not even doing the money back guarantee. I make them pay first. They give it back. You just say, "Hey, just try it."
We wouldn't even have a credit card to send it back to.
Okay. So this is great, man. So in 7 months, 100 clients.
Yeah. Just under. Yeah.
That's great. Well, my understanding there's like 40,000 PI lawyers out there. So if you could just get, like 4,000 on, that'd be 10%.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and y'all going to be at the AI for PI conference in Orlando, and you're going to be speaking, and you'll be there if people want to go and answer any questions in person. And so I'm excited. So you'll be able to show how this new stuff works too, that you're just rolling out this week. Yeah.
We're very excited about agent scorecards.
Yeah. And so we'll try to get this out. I'll tell them to get this out before the AI PI conference in case they want to go down there and talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else that I missed or you want to say about this? I'm excited for you guys. I think you've tapped into something. That's
We said it was kind of a Henry Ford situation where if you ask everybody what they want a faster horse. If you ask all the lawyers what they want more leads. Literally 0 people asked for an AI intake evaluation tool. Literally 0 people ever asked for it. But once they got in, you could feel the horsepower, and it makes a lot of sense.
Ken, I don't know if this will be on the podcast part, but I just want to share this. So before we went on stage back in May in Denver, right? David and I, we were calling each other. I'd go into his office and be like, all right, like, let's just temper our expectations for like when we roll this out and show folks that this is something that's available, right? And I was like, if we get 10 firms that are interested, like, at least we know we're onto something, right? And my wife was in the audience. A couple of our team members were in the audience, and they said when the QR code went on the screen, it looked like a rock concert. Everyone's phones just came out, and they were like, "Sign up for the free demo." When we realized I'll tell you the moment when we realized that this was really a need that people had, and people had just not known that this is what they should be looking for. It was after our talk. You remember there was the cocktail hour, right? And we were like, okay, we're at a conference with all lawyers. And there was a longer line to our booth than there was to the free bar, right? And I was like, we definitely got something here.
Yeah. Well, you do. Like I said, I hadn't heard anybody complain about it yet. So that means that it's working,
Yeah. And I think it's unique in the space in that I don't know many other AI tools where you can get value from it before you ever spend any money. You could get that. When we do that onboarding and to connect to your phone system, most phone systems, we are able to pull a 30-day look back, and we can pull in the last month's worth of calls. So you've got some meat to analyze. We onboarded one firm, Nugent, at the conference, and their first day on the platform, they were able to go back historically and find some lead rescues within their last couple of days, and they signed 4 cases that they had initially rejected just in that first day on the platform.
Damn. Well, good deal. I hope you guys appreciate it, and I thank you for creating this, Hayden, and hope you guys have a great Christmas. I think I'm supposed to say Happy Holidays, but I'll say Merry Christmas anyway. And I look forward to seeing y'all in Orlando.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We'll see you later.
All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.